Welcome to the Sustain, Change and Grow podcast, where we discuss questions related to climate change and sustainable personal development with experts across different fields. I'm Dilara Salahova. I am currently working at the European Central Bank on sustainable finance topics, and I would like to emphasize that this podcast is not related to my work at the ECB. Instead, it is a part of my desire and effort to raise awareness about the importance of individual actions to address current environmental issues and to bring desired changes into one's life. Hello, everyone. So in today's episode, I'm happy to welcome Teuta Shabani Towler. Teuta is a Kosovo-American entrepreneur. She is the owner of Mitro Digital Marketing company and the Peaceful Doers. As a life coach, speaker, and trainer certified by the John Maxwell team. She is the mother of 2 children, and she's also passionate about human rights, environment, and sustainability. Teuta, welcome to the Sustain, Change and Grow podcast, and thank you to join me in this conversation about sustainability and change. And I'm very much looking forward to the discussion.
Oh, thank you so much, Dilara, for having me. I'm really excited about this topic. And as you mentioned, I'm really passionate about it. So look forward to having a good chat.
Yeah, and I think you're a really perfect guest to this podcast. Personally, you care about the environment and you lead a sustainable lifestyle, while professionally, you help people to implement desired changes in their lives. So, and for me, the sustainability is really about the change. On the one hand, individuals, companies, countries, societies, they have to change and adopt a sustainable lifestyle in order to for our civilization to survive. On the other hand, sustainability topic illustrates how resistant people are to change. And my first question, would you agree with this? And if yes, I have 2 other questions. So why change is so difficult and where does the resistance come from?
Well, change is difficult for people who are not aware of the need to change. The need to change happens for people mostly when their values are questioned or they experience pain. And if these 2 are not affected by the environment, they're not going to be willing to change.
Mm-hmm. And so for you, the resistance is because
there's no pain. If something happens to the environment, it's not affecting their lifestyle directly, then it doesn't matter. You know, if it's an oil spill in Africa, but people in America are not affected by it, they don't care. But if there's an oil spill right here, I live on an island, if there's an oil spill right on my beach, I'm going to be affected and I'm going to be more urgent, feeling an urgency to do something about it.
Right. So it's about the values, and it's about the urgency, basically, when it touches your personal environment, like your home,
Yes.
kind of. Okay.
Yes.
And so no, that's interesting. So myself, I was thinking about kind of 3 sources of resistance. So, but the first one is when people are not poor, but when they struggle to meet their needs. So they won't think about the environmental issues. So they have other things to take care of first. Second was that maybe wealthy people, they associate sustainability with like poor lifestyle because they have to reuse something, like recycle, repurpose, and this is something that like they're not interested in because that's association with the worse life. And the other one I was thinking about this about the constraining yourself. So because you really have to think okay, you have to think about carrying a flask, for example, in order not to use plastic bottles. So you have to deprive yourself from another beefsteak, and you don't want it. So like they just don't want these changes. But I agree that all of this can be solved if they align what they do with their values. So in a way, they don't think about it because they don't think about their true values. How does it resonate with you? Like, can you maybe expand it further?
I think it's interesting you touched base on, being poor and being rich and how how your mindset is related to those. I think my journey actually started as a child in Kosovo. And initially, I did not have the knowledge about what we do as humans that impacts the environment. I wasn't environmentalist, but I was out to make money. So my journey started with collecting plastic bottles, collecting beer bottles, glass jar, soda cans, and then I would have this huge bin and I would take it to the center and I would get dinars, which is what we used to get paid in Yugoslavian money. So that was how I started. It was like, okay, don't throw that plastic bottle because I can make a few cents, sell that bottle. So that was how I started my recycling journey. And, of course, after I went to school and we started learning about, in biology and science and learning about the earth and our impact on environment, of course, I learned more. And then that kind of grew. But I never, even when I had money, I wasn't associating with, oh, I don't need money, so now I'm going to just throw this bottle or not use reusable bottles. So I continued that. So I just shifted from, okay, there's money to be made to also I'm doing good for the environment. So it kind of, my values became aligned because initially it was about money. And then it was, oh, I'm also going to be able to help the environment. And of course, that's changed and I evolved as I learned more because every time there's more studies being done, there's something new that we learn. And for me, it wasn't so hard to implement something new. For a lot of people, they hear something, they read about something, but then they don't do it. I personally do it. If it's something that I find it interesting, yes. So go from reduce, reuse, recycle, apply those at home, apply it at work, apply it with my kids, and then just go from there.
Right.
So some of the...
So maybe let me just cut you here for the second, and we will get back to your personal journey. I just wanted to stress the point. I think that was very interesting. So what you mentioned about the environment and money, because that was a very similar story in the Soviet Union. Like recycling was at the national level and also encouraged at the each individual level. So as a kid, I would also go and take papers, collect papers, bottles, and everything. So but that was so it's both the money and rather like economic factors. So nobody, I think, really cared about the environment at that point. And I think this touches really a very interesting argument is that, okay, some people, they're really caring about the environment. They're very sensitive to people's or animals suffering, or the planet suffering, or the loss of the biodiversity. And they can, like you are, for example, and you will change your behavior. But then some other people, they're less sensitive. They want to change their behavior for these reasons. But then in order to change their behavior, what we should target is the economic benefits of the changed behavior when the economic benefits are aligned with the environmental targets. And I just thought that that's a very interesting point that you touched upon. And now, let's really move to you, because I think you have a very interesting journey. And I just would like to highlight that so you're a mother of 2 kids, so you're the owner of 2 companies, and so I imagine you're a very busy person, and still you care about the environment, and you take active position in order to change your lifestyle and to have this sustainable lifestyle. So, and now please do get into the details, how you get your motivation, how you get energy and time to do all of this.
I think for me, it's fascinating when I find new ways of doing things. And yes, I do care about saving and economic aspect of it, but also about the environmental aspect. So for me, I'm driven by the values. The main one is the value of saving the planet, doing the best I can to reduce any harm, whether that's trash or pollution or driving everywhere and blowing smoke. So I'm driven by the values. And so for me, transformation, once I'm aware of something, okay, I figured this is something wrong, I should change, I don't just sit. I'm driven by that value to the point that I have moral responsibility. I'm motivated and energized to just go do it. Like I find the ways to incorporate the lifestyle within my business lifestyle. There's sustainability even in your little change of habits. So for me, it's fascinating sometimes when I find ways like, oh, I can do this and this at the same time. So it's streamlining the process. And sometimes people think it's very difficult, but actually it's not. Like everybody or most people that I know where I live, they have recycling bin. They put paper, plastic, glass, cans in a bin. We are lucky where we have resources, but I personally do it. When my kids were little, I didn't have the money to pay for the pickup truck to come and get it from my house. So I had 5 different bins in my kitchen. One was plastic because I had to keep them separated, 5 different like trash cans, but they were bins. And then end of the week, I had to load all of them and take it to the recycling center.
That's a lot of devotion.
It was. And it wasn't a problem until my kids started to crawl, and then they would just go and pull all the recycling out of there. So I gave in and started paying for the pickup. So it was totally doable. And then the other thing, it's like reusable bags. Go to the grocery store. I bring my own reusable bags. I hang them by the car, the keys, because when I'm coming in the house, sometimes I forget to bring them back. So when I leave the house, I bring them with me. The simple things. I keep a wicker basket in my car. So when I go buy fresh fruits and vegetables, I don't put them in a bag. I put them straight in a basket. Just little things like this.
Yeah.
When I am making salads, for example, like fruits and vegetables, whatever we peel, I make a bin out of like a compost, and then I use that. I put it in the heat in the sun, and then I use that for a garden. I do my vegetable garden in the summertime. Wintertime, I can't grow a garden, so I have a hydroponic tower garden with indoor lights. So I grow a lot of leafy greens on that. It's absolutely delicious, and it's fascinating to watch something grow inside your house and have food inside your house. And what else am I doing?
I liked your tip. I liked your tip about putting the bags next to the car keys or somewhere where you can see them on your way to the out of the house to go to the shop. It reminds me some other studies or like suggestion from I think psychologists who said find your place where your things will be lost. So like
yes. Yes. Well, I wish I can find where my glasses are, because they're not in any of the usual spots where I usually leave. But yeah, I love I donate a lot. Like if my kids grow out of clothes, I don't throw them in trash. If something that I don't want to use anymore or wear anymore, then I donate to the thrift stores, which is a fundraiser for a lot of nonprofits. And there are times that I shop there too. Like if there's something I need for the house or something like lights or I don't know, things for the kitchen, I buy them used also. I don't care.
Yeah.
To me, it serves another purpose.
And
If
it's
I
not
am
because
breaking
you
something,
cannot afford it, right? So like you can
yes,
afford new ones,
I
but you
can
still
afford it.
buy.
Yeah, but I still go and buy old stuff. I don't care. If I see a cute business suit, I'll buy a business suit. I don't care. And yeah, last year I bought an electric car. So that's been a really big step for me into sustainability, but also saving money on gas and maintenance and all that. And then this year I moved on to another step where I became a vegan. So no more animal products. And actually, I feel great. I am saving money, I feel healthier, and I'm also contributing to the planet.
But that must feel pretty constraining, no? Like because you go to visit your friends or family. I imagine that they don't have the same lifestyle. And then you you cannot eat this, you cannot eat this, and then I imagine like it brings a lot of constraints. Is it?
Yes and no. Again, I find a way to incorporate my values everywhere I go as a guest. If somebody invites me to a party or a house guest, I always bring something.
Mm-hmm.
I bring, instead of like a lot of people bring bottled wine. I don't really drink as much wine. So I bring something that I will eat and also share it with others. So it serves a double purpose and I don't feel constrained. And my friends love it. A lot of my friends love vegetables and fruit. So, and they actually feel very supportive. Everyone that I know have been very supportive in my vegan journey. They don't push me to eat something that I do not want. They even go out of their way sometimes to serve me or cook something for me that is vegan food. I'm really grateful and humble that my friends support me on this journey. And no, I do not feel constrained. What I feel a little bit challenging is when I travel. Like this last 2 days, Thursday, Friday, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was not very easy to find a vegan restaurant or find a restaurant where the people that I was meeting could eat their favorite meals and then I could eat mine. Actually, Thursday night, I ended up order a takeout and got delivered to my hotel because I was too tired to drive on the other side of the city just to get food for myself. So I find the most challenge with vegan food is when I travel, not when I'm visiting friends, not when I'm at home.
Yeah, right. That's part of the challenge that the restaurants are not yet adapted. And have you seen the difference, like in the last maybe 10, 15 years? Are things changing?
Oh, absolutely. Everything is changing. Like the way they source ingredients, the way they cook. And I think it's also the demand, they're trying to meet the consumer demands. For example, if there's more people who are becoming vegan, the restaurants are going to offer more vegan food. And those who, they're carnivores, they want to attract that kind of clientele. There's always clientele for that as well. But yes, there's a really growing number of vegetarian and vegans. And I think the restaurants and the grocery stores are also adapting to our needs, which I think we need to speak up. We need to change ourselves and adapt. And then everything else kind of just works its way because of the profit.
Yeah, makes sense. But do they also adapt like to have less packaging, for example? Because one of the really terrible things in the supermarkets is that you have each vegetable or each fruit packaged in a plastic or then in a carton and add all this beautiful packaging who nobody really needs. Is this changing as well?
It's a very small change, unfortunately. I don't see a big difference when it comes to the packaging of the food industry. Like I especially not just food, but everything else. Like I order one little thing on Amazon, it's like this small item, and it's in this humongous box filled with bubble paper.
Yeah.
And it's a big box. It's like, why?
Yes.
Too much.
And so your friends, they're very supportive for you to lead this lifestyle. Do they have similar lifestyle? Or do you still
Many
feel
of
a
them
little
do.
bit lonely?
When I am in Kosovo, I absolutely feel lonely because I don't know a single person in my close circle of friends who are vegans. They're all meat lovers. And majority of the people either don't understand the impact on the environment, or if they do, they don't care. So when I am in Kosovo, I definitely feel alone. In America, no. Most of my friends and family here, our values are similar. And I think just living on the beach also attracts people who want the healthy environment lifestyle because we want clean beaches. Again, it comes back to that, how it's affecting me. And so we care about clean beach. We care about, because that also affects our tourism. I mean, you don't want to go and swim and then have trash come right when you're swimming in your face. It's very clear for people. And this was one of the areas where we were united, despite of our political differences in the community. People were united when it came to the environment.
That's super important. And I think it does relate to the fact that this specific place, which is in pure nature on the coast, attracts very specific people, and then they join their efforts. So it's a little bit of an endogenous process, anyway. But it's really great to hear that these environmental problems allow people with different political views to join their forces to address much more important issues at the global scale. Yes. And do you overall see like more municipal and federal actions to address these issues? And maybe you have observed also positive changes on the matter over years?
Yeah, I think from the time when I moved to United States 18 years ago to how things are now, there's definitely been a lot of progress. Like I used to we didn't even have an option when I first moved here for someone to come and pick up your recycling. Now we have a company that can do that. The city, the municipality where I live, they do have a recycling center, and then they deal with it. And then people who don't want to take, and that's free, you can just go drop it off and it's free. You don't get any money back. You don't get paid for delivering, collecting your bottles, but people don't need it, so they just drop it off there. And then a few years later, which was great timing for me, when I started having my kids start crawling and walking around the house and messing with recycling bins. It was like a toy box for them. Then we had a private company that was offering that service. And I think we have, so it's I live on an island called the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and we have about 30,000 people that live here year round. But then in the summer season, we have hundreds of people that come here from all over the world. So of course, not everybody is environmental cautious about leaving trash on the beach. So businesses, organizations, different clubs, and just local residents, we adopt a mile of the beach, and then every week we go pick up the trash and we clean it up. It's kind of like a community effort. And then in the fall, in America they call fall, in Europe is autumn. I learned that the hard way. It's a great joke. But we plant, there's some, it's a seagrass that we plant, so it prevents the ocean from taking over more of the sand and then washing onto the road and into the houses. So we plant those, I can't remember the name, sea oats, I think, and they have to be planted when it's very cold. So that's another effort. It's led by the municipalities, but then all the locals volunteer, and it's a really great community effort. And then at the end of it, then we have party, and we make sure we also clean up after ourselves. So it's a great effort. And I do want to mention.
I just wanted to say I like this initiative about the adopting a mile.
Yes, yes. And there's always been discussions about offshore drilling for oil seismic testing off the coast here. And we always fight. Like, we have environmental groups, we have the Outer Banks Chamber of Commerce, who's always against that because it affects our economy or our tourism here. And that's always been a fight. And so far, we've been able to keep them off. And during the Trump administration, he initially approved for the oil companies to do seismic testing and then do offshore drilling. And it was on the federal level, it was a very divided political thing. It was like Republicans were pro offshore drilling, Democrats against offshore drilling. What happened was, on a local level, like on the Outer Banks, we also had politicians who were divided. But what brought them together was the people, because every single one here wanted a clean beach. Fishermen were speaking up. They're like, we don't want oil spilled on our beaches, and we want to be able to fish. Companies who were affected by tourism were speaking up. Then you have environmentalists, and then people like me, who just a local resident with a big mouth, about things like this. And so what happened was, the local politicians, they changed their point of view on the offshore drilling. So it was amazing to see one specific, I'm not going to mention his name, but it was amazing to see one candidate who during the campaign a year before, he was pro offshore drilling, and then the following year it was like, yeah, we got to keep our beaches clean because that's what people demanded. And then he was forced to do that, otherwise he would have not gotten elected. And then he took that initiative and took it to the North Carolina level, because we have municipalities, counties, states, and then federal. So it was like multiple levels, but it worked. It went from the local levels, like local clubs like here, to the state to federal, and actually it forced also Trump to change his point of view, and he withdrew that and denied the offshore drilling. And it was amazing effort. Everybody was so happy, except for the oil companies.
Amazing victory, and a beautiful example of how democracy sometimes works.
Yes. And I think this is what people need to work and come together on, their common shared values, and not let politicians divide us so they can get elected. And I've seen this. There's so much division. I don't want to get into politics, because then we'll be here all day. But I feel like people need to come together first, align their values, align their commonalities, and that forces politicians not to divide us, but to work for us, because we elect them, they work for us. And also that drives companies. If we don't buy products that are not healthy for us, filled with chemicals, they have bad, tested on animals, product tested on animals, or they are bad packaging, and we tell them that, and we stop using their products, it's going to force them to change. So we have the power to change. It starts with us.
Right. But how do we change people to adopt all these values, or to connect to all these values? Like, okay, your friends in the States are aligned with your values, but do you feel that more generally, Americans are concerned about the environment and climate change?
In general, Americans, yes. Kosovars, no.
Okay, so you do see at the
I see the
individual level, in the States, that people, even like in certain regions, which are not like San Francisco or New York, but more like Texas or Minnesota, that they do care about the environment, that they aware of the problems, and that they're also ready to act. You see all of this?
I see a lot of effort being made into into the environment. And sometimes the thing where I see where people can align when they're really not into the same values, if they don't care about your environment and that's not one of your values, but everybody cares about money. So go there, start with that, make it affordable for people. So then that's going to get them moving. And awareness and education. I have friends who are very conservative, yet they care for the environment. But what they do care the most is saving money. They have like solar panels. All of their floors are heated with solar panels. The water is heated with solar panels. They're not spending any money on electricity. And even if they don't care about the environment, they care about their bill. End of the month, they're only paying $20 instead of somebody else paying $160. So you got to go with those, and also make it, solar panels are not cheap. So make those affordable for people to install.
Mm-hmm. So basically, as we were saying early in the conversation, we don't need to convert everybody in a ecological activist and being personally engaged in the environmental issues. But as a society, we need to relate the environmental issues with either profit for companies or the savings for individuals.
Yes. And honestly, they go hand in hand. The two of them, they go so much hand in hand, and it's so easy to incorporate both. And then the products, like the companies who produce food, it's like, if we do not eat the products that has chemicals, and then they're going to be forced to stop doing that. But how do we get people to stop eating those products? Is when they start getting sick and feeling pain from that. That's what's going to get them moving to eat healthy. You're not going to be able to turn anybody eating vegan because they still love steaks or fish. But if they start feeling sick and they're like, oh, you not need to cut this because this is affecting your health, that's when people start to change, because now they're being affected directly and it's impacting their life.
Yeah, well, people eat a lot of fast food and very unhealthy products. They have obesity issues, and still they continue eating all the same stuff. So, and I imagine they also have the same problems with the health. So I wonder, like, if it really works this way.
It doesn't work for people who don't have awareness. And sometimes unhealthy lifestyle, it's a sign of, I call it the slow suicide. It's people who really don't care about their health, then they're just slowly self-sabotaging and hurting themselves in a different way. And I don't mean this to sound negative, because there's different ways and different issues that people have, and it shouldn't be a taboo. We should talk about mental health and those challenges, because a lot of times people consuming too much alcohol, it's a sign that they have emotional problems that they're trying to bury and deal and numb themselves with alcohol. And if they're constantly, and it's okay to eat, once in a while you have a glass of wine, or you eat a burger at McDonald's, but if it's a daily thing, or it's a regular habit that is self-destructive, then you need to think, okay, what am I trying to avoid? What am I going emotionally through that this is making me feel better? Because when we have any emotional problems, we tend to go for something that's comforting, that makes us feel better. And food is one of those first things.
Right. And so it's interesting that you're touching this point. And I wanted to ask you, like, further to deepen this. So, because you're a professional coach and you help people to introduce desired changes in their lives. So how can you encourage a person to change their lifestyle and start acting upon environment and sustainability, or maybe some other issues like eating healthier or doing more sports?
Well, as a life coach, I can't tell people what they should or should not do, because that's not what life coaching is. Life coaching is not like sports coaching. And so when clients come to me, and they're working on, okay, I have this unhealthy habit that I want to change, they're the one that come with the desire to change, but they need someone to guide them through that process. Let's say they say, okay, I'm not going to drink for a few nights a week. Mm-hmm. And if they don't do that, then they come back and we talk about, okay, what happened? Why did you went back? What was going on that day? And sometimes it's like, aha, now I see it. There are times when even, what else I've seen? Gaming. It's a huge addiction issue when it comes to people bearing emotions and not wanting to change. It's just, that's one of those things that they dive into. So as a coach, I do use a lot of different techniques, but mainly it's Q&A. It's important, and I want to touch base a little bit what life coaching is, because so many people are really not.
I was about to get
there. Aware of. Oh, okay. Is that okay if I go there now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So every coach has a different lifestyle, but the industry standards for those who are professionally trained and certified is that we don't tell people what to do with their lives. Like I said, life coaching is not like sports coaching, and it does have some people, there are different coaches, and some are not at the same level, the same standard, and not the same training. So not every coach is equal, and either are the clients. So typically I start with clients where they are now, mm-hmm. and where they want to be at. And during the coaching sessions, we create a roadmap how to get from point A to point B.
So the desire comes from the client.
The desire comes from the client. So if the client says, okay, I want to change this habit, and then I go with, what is the first thing that is the least resistant you can do to start? Mm-hmm. Because you have to start training your mind to make small shifts. You can't just go, boom, okay, today I'm this and tomorrow I'm going to be this. It takes a little bit of time, unless you have been already in that transformational journey, which I've been myself. For me, it's easy to change now. It's like, okay, today I'm going to eat steak. Well, tomorrow I am going vegan. For me, it's easy. But for a lot of people who have not been through those stages, we have to start small. So I start with, what is the first thing that you can do that is the least resistant? What is the easiest thing for you? And then we go into brainstorming. Well, I did this, so that was easy. And I did this, and that was easy. I did this, and that was hard. So we avoid those until a little bit later down the road. So we start with the easy ones first, and then we moved into more challenging ones. But that creates a momentum, because those small changes, even though it's a small change, they come back the next week and they're like, yeah, I did it. But
it creates confidence.
I didn't tell them what to do. It creates confidence. That's what life coaching is supposed to be. It creates confidence in them. It helps them overcome fear. It helps them overcome any challenges. And it also empowers them. They're more motivated to do more. Because if you have things that, okay, I did that, now I'm ready for the next step. We're going step by step instead of shooting for the sky. And yes, I do have people who come to the coaching. They're like, okay, I want this, and then this, and this week I can do this. I was like, look, you think you can do it? Let's try it. I never tell them don't do it. I never tell anyone don't do it unless it's committing a crime. And I was like, okay, don't do it. And I might actually have to call the police. And by industry standards, by life coaching standards, I'm expected, if his life or her life or somebody else's life is in danger, I have to report that. Other than that, everything else is confidential. So yes, what else I was going to mention in this regard? Yeah, that's the main thing, is the self-confidence and making sure that they work on that strategy. I feel like a cheerleader, honestly. It's like, all I need is the pom-poms. I have to show up in high energy myself, but also grounded, be positive, and be 100% focused on the client. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a desire that benefits me in any way. My only goal, my happiness in that session is that my client gets a result.
Right. And so if I
Very-
kind of summarize, like for a change, like kind of stages for a successful change, is that you set up the goal, like the big goal or the small goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And then you break it in small steps, and you start with the smallest step, the easiest that you can make without almost any effort. And then this, because you made it once, you made it twice, and then people start believing that the change is possible, and that gives them confidence, and they continue with the more difficult steps.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, exactly.
And then an interesting question is about how to choose a coach who is really a professional, because I think now maybe one of the skepticism and the lack of trust to the coaching profession is because there are just so many people who are not always as good, and coaches who are not always good, and it's difficult to find a good one. So can you give like some suggestions or criteria how to choose a good coach? And then actually I have another question, so maybe it's related.
Go ahead.
So when I'm thinking about the coach, I think about this proverb that a shoemaker always wears the worst shoes. So does it apply to coaching or not? So does a coach should first fix his or her own problems before life, before helping others, and how the success of the coach can really predict the professionalism of the coach?
Absolutely, a coach has to be gone through a transformational of personal and sometimes, excuse me, spiritual journey herself or himself. Excuse me. Be healed from past traumas, but also continue on transformational journey, because there's always room for growth. But that is not always enough. Excuse me. Just overcoming your own and healing yourself and transforming your life, it's not enough to coach other people. You need to have training. So make sure if you're going to hire a coach, make sure they have been on a transformational journey, that they have training and they have some certification, and they're continuing on training on their professional field. And the mistake that a lot of people are making is like, okay, well, I have overcome, I don't know, alcohol. I've overcome, I became sober. I've overcome addiction. Now I can help other people. That is great. And there's so many people that need that help, but you still need to get trained, because the tools that work for you may not work for other clients. And if you don't go through that training, you are not going to know how to help other people, because your experience should not be affecting somebody else, your clients. My experience, what worked for me, should not be put in front of you. The client chooses what they want to work on. They choose the tools that they want to. Only when they hit absolutely roadblock, and they don't have any clue, they're so blocked, they don't see anything, they can't come up on anything during the Q&A sessions in a coaching session, that's when I just lay out all the options. This one's possible, this one's possible, this one's possible, but I still let them choose what tools they want to use. Because me simply telling them, or any coach telling you this is what you should do, doesn't work. If a coach tells you you should, then that really is not a really good trained coach. Or if they tell you, why did you do this? If at any point you feel like you're being criticized by your coach, then that's not a good coach. Mm-hmm. If you ever feel like you're defending yourself, then it's not a good coach. A good coach will come to the sessions with positive energy, open-minded, focus on the client only, and be able to have a very good active listening skills, which a lot of people have a hard time listening, but then circle back and make sure, okay, this is what I'm seeing. Hold kind of like a mirror. This is what I'm seeing. Is this where you want to go? Is this correct? And sometimes they're like, oh. And sometimes I go, but you said this, you want this. And then this seems like it's conflicting with something else. So it's important to point out what I see in coaching session, but not tell people this is what you should do. So yeah, it's very important to have a professional coach, because that can lead nowhere. And there is, like you said, there's a lot of negativity towards life coaches because the market is so saturated. But there's also a lack of awareness what life coaching is. So there's people who like, I don't want life coaching. I don't want people telling me what to do. So there's groups of people who are anti-coaching. There's one group who has never experienced life coaching, so they have no idea what it's like. What they know is probably from sports coaching and Tony Robbins style, when he tells people to stop smoking. I'm not like Tony Robbins style coaching. Another group of people are people who have had coaches and have had bad experiences with coaches who are not professional. And then the third group of people that I have encountered with are people who are not ready to work on themselves. Because going to coaching, it's almost like therapy, but not as intense emotionally as the therapy. But it's still, you have to have that courage and awareness and the desire to work on yourself. And if they're not ready to work on themselves, they're going to come up with all kinds of excuses and not to sign up for coaching. It is hilarious to see people be like, okay, well, I need to change this and I need this and I need this. And then when it's time to start, they're like, yeah, but now it's Easter. And then next month, my kid's graduation. And then the next month is 4th of July and there's parties. And they always come up with something to avoid to work on themselves, because sometimes working on yourself can be painful for people.
Yes.
But they have to overcome that pain in order to grow and get out of those situations.
Yes. And do you see people coming to you with the maybe anxieties or some other feelings about the environmental change, the climate change?
Yeah. No, they don't sign up for coaching for environmental anxiety, but those conversations do come up quite a bit during coaching sessions, especially with the CEOs of the companies, because they have sometimes conflict of interest. It's like, okay, I care about their environment, but the profit margins is not there, so I have to keep my employees. I have to make sure I am pleasing my investors and showing profit. So they have those are the times of the times when I see the most where we have the conversation about the environment is with the CEOs of companies, whether men or women. That's when I see their values being tested. That's when I see their guilt and conflict and stress and anxiety. So that's when I see the most effects on the CEOs during coaching sessions.
Right. And we're always getting back to the values.
Yes, the values always. Yeah. Back to the values.
How successful are you in applying your principles, the principles that you're teaching others?
And honestly, I had a life coach, and one of the best tips that I got from her was walk the talk. And I was like, how do I do that? So I learned when my clients do their mindset work for the week, I do it on myself also. And that helps me walk the journey along with them, also walk the talk, but it also helps me grow as an individual and as a coach as well. So I work on myself regularly. I have a coach. I'm very grateful that I have been trained by two of the best trainers at John Maxwell team, specifically Christian Simpson. So much gratitude for him, and Paul Martinelli. I learned so much from them. And it's a continuous growth. And everything that I do when I see my clients, struggle, I go and audit myself. I was like, okay, do I have this issue in my life? Have I ever experienced this? I journal like crazy. After every session, I write down notes for the clients, and then I test myself. So it really, as much as I'm helping my clients grow, it also helps me grow as well.
Yeah. So you're constantly testing and exposing yourself to new challenges.
Absolutely. Always taking new classes, always reading new books, listening to podcasts. I have a mentorship calls with the John Maxwell team. Yeah, I have a life coach. I have a fitness strength coach. It's like mentors, you name it. Nobody gets successful without, getting help. And that's what people who are against anti-coaching need to understand, that if you want to be really successful and have a happy life, you cannot do it alone. And yes, a lot of people feel like they have family that supports them, they have friends that supports them, but the family and friends have their own fear for you. Mm-hmm. The coaches don't.
Yeah, so
your mom and dad might tell you, hey, don't start that business because you're not going to have money, and then they fear that they're going to go ask family for money. But a life coach is like, okay, let's dive into what you can do. Where are your numbers? And then they do it.
Yeah. And what is interesting, all successful people like Oprah Winfrey, they all have their life coaches, right?
Yes, they all have life coaches, and I have life coaches too.
And is it common?
It's important.
Is it common or mandatory for life coaches to have their own life coaches? Or is it something that is specific to you?
No, I think it's important for all life coaches to have mentors or other life coaches for them. Yeah. Why? Because there's always room for growth. Because a life coach helps you get into subconscious mind. There's always something that is there that you're not seeing. But when you go through coaching sessions, the coach will dig it out of you. And that I've seen that in myself so many times. Come up stuff like I haven't even thought. Things that I didn't think it was a big deal or it mattered. Apparently, when I look back, like, oh, that did affect me. And it was everything that was affected. It was also because of the values were affected. And freedom is one of my main, besides environment, is like respect for humanity, honesty, truth. It's freedom. And if my freedom is tested, I had all kinds of weird paradigms that come up just to protect that freedom, and I wasn't aware of it. So yeah, it's important to have a life coach or a mentor that can help you see things that you're not seeing, hold a mirror for you, because you can't see it. And when you're in the middle of something, you can't see it. Only when you step outside or somebody guides you to step outside of that routine, outside of that box, outside of that circle, then you get awareness. And for me, I get a lot of awareness when I travel, because I see something or I hear something new, and I'm out of my regular routine. So my brain picks up things that are different. And it's fascinating. I love it. When you see people who travel, they always come up more aware about things and themselves, and they're more inclusive about other cultures than people who just stay home all the time.
Yeah, but I think the reactions are different. So what you're saying is, I totally agree. I think we all have our blind spots, and we need others to highlight them. But about the traveling and the facing something different, I have an impression people have different reactions. So some people, they see things differently and they accept it, and this enriches them, that gets new experience. They question something about themselves. Mm-hmm. But I think there are also other people, when they face something completely different, they close up, they start protecting. That's probably about something about confidence, or maybe something else you can say. But I would say there are these two different reactions. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
I agree. That's absolutely, you're spot on about that. And I think I'm one of those people who accept other cultures. I see them, I respect it, and I enjoy it. And for people who don't respect other cultures and they think, it's an ego issue. But behind that ego, there's also fear. Because, okay, they're different, and how they're going to affect me. And it comes to that, how are they going to try to change me? And also the other aspect is, if they're not self-confident, they try to elevate themselves, and so they look better on the outside, but on the inside they're really broke. So people who treat other people poorly, they don't have a good confidence on themselves, and it's just a fake face they're putting, treating people differently. It comes back to feeling good enough in your own skin and being confident in your own skin. If you have that within yourself and you're at peace and happy with yourself, then you don't care if this person eats beef or broccoli. You don't care if this person prays to Jesus or Muhammad. You don't care if this person has brown skin, black skin, or yellow, white skin. That stuff doesn't matter. Only when you don't feel good in yourself and you feel insecure about yourself, those other things come up.
Absolutely.
Which is, I think it's important for people to work on themselves, grow themselves, and not be affected by differences.
Yeah. If something makes you fear, you should ask why you have this fear and how you can overcome. It's not to attack the other. It
always comes back to us.
Exactly.
Always comes back to us.
Know yourself first.
Yes, the best relationship you can have with yourself first, and then others.
Right. And so our time is almost up. So I always ask a question about the two most inspiring books. So what are those for you?
I think the one that really got me into positive mindset and gratitude was Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh. And one of the particular stories in that book was, if you have all your fingers, you're never grateful that you have your fingers, but if one break after it heals, then you're like, oh, look, it's healed, you give it attention. So I think that was really a book that shifted my mindset and being more grateful for what I have instead of focusing what I didn't. And have I known this long time ago, it probably would have saved a lot of problems in my past. And then the second book that really helped me was Think and Grow Rich. And there was so much about that was in the personal level, but also on the business level. It really helped me with that a lot. And recently, I am a big fan of Jay Shetty, so I read his book, Think Like a Monk, and it has a lot of practices for mindfulness and how to build peace within yourself. And that's been really helpful to also share that space with my clients in the coaching sessions as well. Great.
Very nice books. Looking forward to read them, actually.
Oh yeah, highly recommend it. Actually, it's kind of sad that Thich Nhat Hanh died a few weeks ago, about a month now. Yeah, he was a former monk from Vietnam and lived in France. And I don't think they're printing any of those books anymore. But hopefully somebody will make them on Kindle. I have two that are in print, but they're kind of like antique and high value now. Now that he's gone, I hold them even more dear to myself.
Thank you so much, Teuta. That was very interesting. I learned a lot. I hope the listeners did as well. And I wish you all the best with what you do with your businesses, but also with your environmental journey. I think that's really important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And you brought out some points that I really haven't thought about it. But this was a really fun conversation. So yeah, I love continuing this journey. I love helping other people. My coaching business is called the Peaceful Doers. So I love coaching other people's and hope that they are better people. And then they're able to go in the world and bring more peace to the world, because we really need it. There's always more light and love and peace that we need in this world. And the more I can coach, the more people I can impact. I feel like we can all make a difference.
Yeah, this is so true. When we're in peace with ourselves, we're in peace with the world. So, and that's what we need now.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to reach out, you can check out my website, thepeacefuldoers.com.
Yeah, the link will be in the description.
Okay.
Thank you, Teuta, again. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and bye-bye.
Bye.